Okay, we're ready for another session. This is going to be part 12 of session 3. Session 3, as you should know, is about Robert Nelson's life and times, his beliefs and his struggles. And this is being done again on August 4th, 2016. It's about 11:30 in late evening. Take it away.
Here we go again. Previously, we were talking about my situations with and struggles with the ETs. During the early 1990s, I spent a lot of time trying to find a way to fight back. And I did find different ways. My first attempts were successful and yet frustrating because they didn't get the results I wanted. I thought after downing one or two craft, two different ones, two different occasions, where I used telekinesis to down UFOs where I had just been abducted after I was returned back. I had hoped that the ETs would get the message, leave us alone, leave the solar system forever, and leave us alone, or else I'll down more of your craft. All that happened was I ended up being picked up more often, treated harsher than before, and it seemed like what I did just didn't get the results that I had hoped. In the later 1990s, I began experimenting with a whole different concept. Many of these ETs are of a hive consciousness, meaning that there is like a telepathy between them, and they tend to be of a single-mindedness. Well, given that precept, if you get control of one of them, you get control of a number of them. Their greatest strength, their telepathy, is also their greatest weakness. I guess you could say I used a little metaphysical martial arts. A lot of metaphysical martial arts. By 1998, I was doing what I call kill runs. I went out of body and would send out a message, a telepathic message, that would kill the gray ETs only. It was intended for them and no one else. No one else was affected by it, just the grays. And even then, only as long as there were no humans or other life forms other than the grays on the ships that I was going after. My first efforts were those of which I orbited the Earth. And I began wiping out ETs en masse. This is after sending years and years and years of warnings. If you don't stop, I will find a way to wipe you out as an entire race. And I will make what we call Adolf Hitler look like a saint here. But you have pushed me to the point where this is what I will do. And it's up to you. It's my decision. I take responsibility for making it. But I'm not the one who pushed me into the situation where I had to choose what to do. They didn't get the message, or they got it and didn't give a damn. Most likely that. Because their attitude to me, in one of the last times that they picked me up before I really began slamming them successfully, was, and I quote, "We don't care." No mouth movement, just I could hear thoughts coming from them to me. I was on a table in a craft. Things were being done to me that were debasing and wrong. And I said, do you have any idea what I'm going to do to you for this? And the answer came back, we don't care. And I said, do you have any idea what you've just done to your race? And what I'm going to do to your race? We don't care. Came back again. I said, I'm going to wipe you out as an entire race. At that point, the answer came back again, we don't care. The gray ET standing near me pushed me. And since there was no gravity, I ended up floating off the table that I was on until I was caught by other ETs. After that, I began these kill runs. I actually, over a period of time, extended them throughout this solar system. And for a long time, evidently, they worked. I have to say that after it was done, I myself would end up feeling ill for over a week, because here I'm radiating this concept from myself outward. And because I'm also partly ET myself, although I'm not partly gray, I'm not part of that race at all. Mostly it was because I was radiating that thought from myself. I did it in such a way as that I felt as though I was the gray, one of the grays, dropping dead on the floor, of what it would feel like. They didn't have any defense against it. They still don't. Those that still survived. The abductions stopped immediately. I kept on going after them to follow through with what I said I would do. This is a horrific method. It's something I really don't want to get into any more than I already have. I hate the ETs for a number of reasons. The worst one is because of what I had to become. And I know anyone can say, well, you didn't have to become that. Yes, I did. I had to choose what to be and what to do in order to protect others and myself, or I would be letting everyone down, and myself as well. I was put in a situation where I had to choose what to be. For me, it's about as opposite of everything that I really am. But in this life, I understand that I did come in to start making some corrections that have been needed to be made for a very long time. Not just here over Earth, but in other locations as well. This is a time of reckoning for a lot of extraterrestrial and transdimensional cultures. And the way is being paved and opened up for humans in the future, should they choose this, and it's up to their choice, to become the Messiah's healers and teachers of the multiverse. A lot of these extraterrestrial races have either not been created with the capacity for genuine love, or they've been created with it and somehow genuine love just became a form of logic, how to get from point A to B to get what you want. Now, with logic, you can justify the unjustifiable. With logic, you can treat beings like objects. And that's what a number of these races are guilty of. And I do mean guilty. And they're being called to account. Whether anyone agrees with what I'm doing or not, it's not up to anyone else to decide. You don't have what it takes to make that decision. Only I do. And if that means that I sound like I'm being a little tin dictator or something to you, or delusions of godhood, you think whatever you wish. I don't care. It doesn't make any difference to me. Not that I don't care about you. It's because I care about you that I'm doing what I'm doing. Or I wouldn't be here going through this. Trust me. It's because I love you so much that I'm going through this shit. Alright. Let me backtrack and give you a little sample. In the early 90s, one night I was abducted, so was my dog, John Boy. They sent me back, then they sent him back. But strangely enough, there were 3 ETs on each side of my bed, 6 total. John Boy barked his head off at them. I couldn't move, I was paralyzed. He had that kind of bark that a dog gets when there's somebody in the house who shouldn't be there. Strangers in the house. They backed away, bit by bit, away from the bed, and as they were backing away, John Boy was pacing, stalking, down the bed to the foot of the bed, and I had a chest at the foot of the bed, and he even stalked onto that, barking at these ETs. They finally backed to the opposite end of the house. The air around them got foggy looking, where I couldn't see them, and when the fog cleared, they were gone. Some kind of matter transferal or dimensional transferal. By the mid-1990s, there were other concerns coming into play. My dad was having circulatory problems. He had gone for scans from his neck on up. They found out that his carotid artery was mostly blocked. Around 97% blocked. His hair had turned white. It wasn't getting enough blood flow. He was having trouble walking. He had had what they call, I believe, an ischemic stroke at one point, an almost stroke at one point, like a warning stroke. And I went with him every time he went to the various doctors to find out what was going on and find out what needed to be done. In October of that year, 1995, he had a carotid endarterectomy to clean the carotid artery. Because of the blood flow that was improved, evidently some clots that existed in his esophagus broke free, and one of them apparently went up to his brain. He had a stroke, which is the thing he dreaded most in his entire life. He had, after that, over a period of time, a number of smaller strokes. He passed in November 16th of 1997. I visited him every day. I mean every day. That was really rough to see him going through that. There was one situation shortly after he was transferred to a very well-known, very reputable nursing home in the city where I lived. They were superb. Strange thing happened. I had visited him. I visited him twice a day, 6 or 7 days a week. I had gotten out from visiting him, and I looked up in the sky, and there was, best way I can describe it, it looked like a clear dinner plate. You know how a plate has a ridge in the center of it? raised ridge in the bottom part of it, and then there's the plate itself around it. It looked like that. The outer ridge was rotating one way, the center ridge was rotating a different way. The thing turned up on its side when I noticed it, and then turned back down again. Like it started off when I first noticed. I thought, oh good, these are maybe ETs and they're going to help my dad get better. Next day when I went to visit my dad, he was even worse. They may have been ETs. Maybe they decided that this was a chance to fight against an ET of another culture that they weren't getting along with, perhaps. Remember, I had told you my dad admitted to me that he was an ET. Mm-hmm. Not a gray, a different race. In July of that year, my beloved John Boy had to be sent over the Rainbow Bridge, as it's called. He had developed congestive heart failure. They took x-rays of him. He was drowning, and he wasn't in any water. The water was in him, it was in his lungs.
Yep, that's what it is.
And it showed up on x-ray, it was that much. They said that he was having trouble breathing, he was coughing all the time. And the doctor said, or the veterinarian said that, well, we can clear that out, but it's very painful for the dog, and it has to be done every 2 weeks. He also had a benign, non-cancerous tumor on his rectum, which made it harder for him to defecate. The doctor said the problem is with his age, his breathing issues and everything, he'll die during the operation on the table.
Sure, yeah.
So I said, I'm not going to have him put through any of that. So I held him for about 20 minutes. I told him, I said, hey, John, take all of this hugging you can get, because it's going to be a while before we can do this again, probably. And he's just leaning back, relaxing, and gosh. Anyway, they came to get him. As I was praying for him to have a peaceful, happy passing into the hereafter, I see this huge lit up neon yellow and pink and orange number 3 in my mind. I didn't understand what it meant. Then I felt his presence come to me and go past me out one of the walls of the veterinarian establishment. And then the 3 vaporized. It just wasn't there anymore. I got up and walked out to the main lobby, and one of the cashiers there said, you know, he's the 3rd one we've had to have put down today. We've never had that many in one morning. And it dawned on me, 3rd. I bet the doctor was probably saying, my gosh, she's the 3rd one. You know, when she knew John Boy. She really liked him, and he liked her. That was him saying, hey, I'm still alive, I'm doing okay, because I'm the 3rd one that's had to be put down today. You know. The next morning, I woke up in the morning and I felt his presence go past me from the bed out another wall of the house, and the scent that was his that went with it. And it dawned on me, he's going to go be with the woman who wanted to adopt him if he wasn't adopted when I adopted him. There was an elderly woman who was quite ill. She was a member of the SPCA. She was going to adopt him if he didn't get adopted the day that I adopted him. So now I guess they're together in the hereafter. And it's possible for our pets to, one, exist in the hereafter, and also to have a part of them come back here and be with us in another life, in the lifetime that we're living. You see, you can't put a limit on a spirit or a soul. It can't be done, because you can't limit God. It was a rough year. I had also been burglarized that year. my car stolen. Went through a very rough year. 1995 through 97 were a couple of rough years, and I don't really want to have to go back through again. In 1998, I began my kill runs. I tested them in 97, but I actually began doing the kill runs in 1998. I met a woman who was involved with MUFON. She came from Georgia down to Florida. She told me that she was intended to get me to join with the ETs instead of fighting them, to turn me. And that it became obvious that wasn't going to happen. One point she even said, I think it's possible for us to, and she picks up a piece of paper and writes something on it, hands it to me. She said, revolution against the ETs. And I said, well, you had to think of what you were writing. Now they know what you're thinking. And right after that, she ended up having different abductors who treated her very harshly. They were reptilian abductors. I really don't look on those days with much of a sense of joy or favoritism of any form. In September of 1995, I got another dog by the name of Kira. I named her Kira because she looked like Kira, the Olivia Newton-John character in Xanadu, with a smile she had. And she was wonderful, a little bossy at times. I sometimes wondered if she was part of my mom coming back to be around me, and that is possible. You can transmigrate. Souls can do that. She too would get free food if we went to fast food places. People would say, oh, she's so beautiful, and she would sit there, look over at the person out of the side of her eyes, and then turn her face away, almost like royalty. Okay, serve me, knave. That kind of, and I'd be fussing at her. Kira, they said you're pretty. Isn't that nice? And she'd kind of cut her eyes over me and look away like, so what? But she was an amazing soul. She was with me until I think she was about 15 when she passed. We're getting close to the beginning of the 2000s. And I want to save that for the next installment. I was able to make a difference in the situation with abductions of people and animals. For that I'm grateful. In 1999, in Thanksgiving of that year, I got something I was really thankful for and still am. Or someone, I should say. A dog by the name of Kenji. He was a retired racing greyhound. He raced for 5 years. A lot of them raced for 1 to 3 years before they're retired. His racing name was You Are the King. You Are the King. People called him King a lot of times. He was named Kenji by his first adopters, who lived in the St. Petersburg area of Florida. And at one point, I want to interrupt here and say that the cat Merlin came over to me when I was experiencing sadness just a little bit ago, and came over and is laying next to me. That's really sweet of him. He's a sweetheart. Yeah, I'm talking about you, and it's all good, sweetie. Yes, sir. Kenji, I used to refer to him as like a college friend who came over for supper and stayed. He loved to counter cruise when I was fixing food. He was so tall. And he loved to eat whatever I made, and his dog food as well. And when the meal would be over, I'd joke with him and say, now look, I went in the kitchen and enslaved and worked to prepare the meal. Kenji, you're tall enough, you could help me wash dishes. And he'd look over at me after he found whichever couch, chair, or bed he wanted to lay on and go, like that, and then conk out. And he had a sense of humor, a definite sense of humor. But he was also a sweet soul, sweet spirit, an advanced, very advanced spirit. He could do healing work. I was always having back trouble, and that would lead to stomach problems. One night, as usual, I'm in bed, suffering and misery, and I decided I couldn't sleep. I was going to have to get up. Before I could do that, Kenji, who was laying behind me, reached his right front paw out and put it right in the part of my back that was hurting and causing my stomach trouble. All of a sudden, the pain stopped. My stomach started feeling better, and I conked out. 4 hours later, I wake up and his paw is still in the exact same spot. He held it there the whole time for me to be able to sleep. Another situation, I had gotten out of the car after getting some fast food for breakfast one morning. Kenji was in the back seat, and I inadvertently closed the car door on my thumb. It hurt so bad I couldn't even yell. Kenji looked at my face. I finally got to where I could let him out of the car. He looked at my face, he looked at my thumb, he looked back at the car door, then he looked at my face again. He looked at my thumb and gave one very gentle, lone kiss on my thumb. The harsh pinkness that was already starting to develop went away immediately. The slight swelling that had already started to set in went back down. Pain stopped immediately. Whatever he did a healing. I've sometimes told people if Jesus could be a dog, that would have been Kenji. Very peaceful. Life is good. Let's be happy together. That kind of mindset. And I haven't met his like since. In 2004, I had to have him sent over the Rainbow Bridge because he had developed lymphatic cancer, lymphatic carcinoma. The doctor told me of a place in Tampa, Florida, where they did chemo for dogs and cats, but that it has the same effect on them it does on humans. I wasn't going to put Kenji through that. I couldn't do that to him. Wouldn't do it to myself. I probably wouldn't do that to someone I hated, except maybe a Hitler or a Stalin. But anyway, I tried my own brand of chemo, everything from meditative healing to giving him a super antioxidant vitamin every day with his food. The cancer went into remission for 6 months. The doctor was surprised. At the end of 6 months, it came back with a vengeance. And there was no stopping it. I had to have him sent over the Rainbow Bridge on on January the 8th of 2004. I know after it was done, the doctor said, I thought maybe he'd only have 3 months of life at most. He said, whatever you did worked. How did you do it? And I told him, he said, let me write that down so I can tell the rest of our clients who have dogs who are fighting cancer. This was a way that was healthy. It didn't have to destroy the body in order to destroy the cancer. And gave him the same kind of life expectancy that chemo would have given him. With chemo, the vet told me he would have had about 6 months of life before it would have come back. Cancer would come back, and it would be very vicious. This way, he had a healthy 6 months of life. Extra. An amazing dog. Amazing soul. I know I'll see him, but I miss him to this day. We'll do more later.